Imagine that within you stands an old, beautiful house. You have lived in it your entire life, yet there are rooms you haven't entered in years. Not because they disappeared, not because they stopped belonging to you, but because somewhere along the way, life became louder than your own voice. Yes. So tonight we walk through that house. The first room smells of rain and crayons. It is the room of that little child who loved creating things simply because it brought joy. And the second room is filled with books, music, half written poems, and impossible dreams. And the third holds the version of you that laughed easily, danced without permission, and rested without guilt. And all the lights are still on. Someone has been waiting. Yes, you. Thinking. Well, let's me make it clearer. Perhaps there was a time when you wanted to become a singer but practically chose a different path. Perhaps you loved painting, but one day someone said, "Yes, that's a nice hobby, but what will you actually be doing in life?" Perhaps you once wanted to travel, write, teach, start a business, learn an instrument, or simply spend quiet evenings watching the sunsets. And slowly, one postponed dream became a postponed self. Not because you were weak, but because, as I always say, life happened. Someone might be fell ill, bills arrived, children were born, responsibilities multiplied, survival became urgent, and the things that made your heart come alive quietly stepped aside. Years passed, and you became dependable, responsible, extremely successful. Everyone admired how much you could carry, but somewhere inside, a room remained locked. And I'm sure each one of you will agree with me when I say that sometimes these abandoned rooms speak through strange moments. A woman watches her daughter learn classical dance and suddenly begins to cry. She tells herself she is emotional because her daughter is performing beautifully. But perhaps she is grieving the little girl who once wanted to dance herself. Hmm. A father pushes his son towards cricket with great passion. He says, "I just want him to have all the opportunities in life." Maybe that is true also. But maybe there is also a young boy inside him who never got to play long enough to discover what he could have become. Sometimes we don't chase our dreams, we quietly hand them to our children and hope they will carry them where we couldn't. And then there are those who are incredibly successful, the ones who have built companies, achieved titles, collected awards, created lives that others admire. Yet, every now and then, in the middle of a celebration, a strange emptiness visits them. Everything is there, and yet something feels missing. Because success can fill a calendar, yes, but it cannot always fill an abandoned room within, isn't it? We can have everything we once prayed for and still miss the person we were before the world taught us who we needed to become. Yes. And yes, then there are people standing right in front of these doors as well. Hmm. They know exactly which room is waiting. They know they miss singing or painting or writing or traveling or simply slowing down. They stand before this door every day, hand on the handle, but they do not enter because a voice whispers, "It's too late. You are too old. You have responsibilities now. What difference will 10 minutes of painting make? Who are you to begin again?" And so they stand there, not outside because the door is locked, but because they have forgotten that they still have the key. So, tonight is not about opening every room. It is simply about remembering that the house still belongs to you. Nothing inside has been destroyed. The music is still there. The dreams are still there. The parts of you that felt most alive are still sitting patiently in their rooms, waiting for your footsteps in the hallway. So tonight, ask yourself softly, what part of me have I been repeatedly postponing? Do not search too hard, do not force any answer. Let the question settle inside you, just like rain upon the dry earth. Because somewhere behind one of those doors, a forgotten version of you has already heard your footsteps and is quietly hoping that this time you will definitely come in. So, tonight, as you drift into sleep, remember this. Somewhere within you, a forgotten part of yourself is sitting by a closed door, quietly hearing your footsteps for the first time in so many years. It is not angry that you left, not disappointed that it took you so long. It is simply waiting. Because sometimes a life doesn't change when we discover something new, it changes when we finally return to something we have once loved dearly. And tomorrow night, we will walk a little deeper into this house and find out which forgotten room has been quietly calling your name all along. Till then, sending you lots and lots of love, Kritika.